Welcome to the webinar. We are live. We'll give it a couple minutes while folks trickle in. So just bear with me, get a snack.
Get acclimated with the setup. We will be using the Q&A feature today. We'll talk about this again as more people get on, but take note of that if you have questions throughout.
All right, sweet deal. So maybe we'll get started. So I can kick us off with introductions, and then I'll pass it to you, Samantha and Eli, just for quick intros. But thank you, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you this afternoon. My name is Mitch. I'm one of the leaders of our Salesforce practice here at Plative. I'm based in Vancouver on the west coast of Canada, and I've been working in the Salesforce ecosystem for the better part of almost 6 years now. Most recently coming from Salesforce professional services themselves. So at Plative, I oversee both our nonprofit world, but then also our for-profit world, which consists of professional services organizations, tech organizations, associations, kind of you name it. And yeah, it's great to meet, and thank you for joining us. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Sammy.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. I am Sammy. You call me Sam, Sammy, Samantha Hogan. I am what we call a core solution engineer over here at Salesforce. Essentially, my role at Salesforce, you can think of me as kind of your primary care physician, right? Salesforce does a whole lot of different things. I'm really here to work with you to make sure we understand what your needs, priorities, and processes are, and map the right pieces of the Salesforce stack to that. So I have the pleasure of working with customers in the professional services space, and then as well as incredible partners like Plative, and making sure our customers actually get these solutions stood up appropriately. So I'm out of Boston and really looking forward to the time today. Eli, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sam. My name is Eli Hoagland. I am a director here at Plative, and I sit on the delivery side of things. So I lead a team of delivery folks who implement Salesforce across the ecosystem. I have been in the ecosystem for about 8-9 years now, and I'm very excited to be able to do some live demos today. Back to you, Mitch.
Thanks, Eli. All right, friends. So I want to just give you a quick overview of who Plative is as an organization. You might be asking yourselves. And so we are a global technology consulting partner. We were founded in New York, but we've grown to a group of over 160 people now, again, located across the globe. We consult on 2 major technologies. So Salesforce, of course, that's why we're here, but then also on NetSuite's ERP, and we're top tier partners of both. So just know that while the conversation today is focused on Agentforce and Salesforce and all those goodies, if you do have questions about kind of how does ERP or accounting fit into the mix with your technology stack, we definitely can help. On the Agentforce side of things, we're super passionate. It's probably the simplest way I can say that, but we were tapped as one of the first Agentforce ready partners within the whole Salesforce ecosystem. And since then, our team has actually completed over 70 AI specialist certifications or Agentforce certifications on the Salesforce platform. So super well versed. And we've had the pleasure of actually partnering with over a dozen organizations now on getting live on Agentforce and AI solutions. So a few battle scars, a few lessons learned, and a few ideas now of how we can actually use Agentforce better for various organizations. From an agenda standpoint today, I'll just kind of set the stage here. We'll do welcome and kickoff, which we're just going through, and then we want to run into the state of AI for professional services organizations. So what is happening in your world, right? And then we're super excited to share a Agentforce live demo of a use case that could be valuable for professional services organizations. And then from there, we're joined by Brian Roy. He's the CEO of Convention Management Resources. He's one of our Agentforce customers. We're partnering with his organization right now to bring AI to the forefront. And so we'll talk through some kind of lessons learned, why Agentforce, all those good things. And then we'll round out today with next steps. And with that, Sammy, I'll pass it over to you to run through the state of AI.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. I will keep this part snappy because there's a lot of great things for us to talk to you about. But just to really set the scene, the professional services industry, it's evolving faster than it ever has. I'm sure we're all feeling that. But again, as a core solution engineer here at Salesforce, I'm seeing this every day with the customers that I support in the greater New England area. It's part of why I love this industry. But let's paint a picture of what the very new future and arguably the present looks like. First, the pace of change is accelerating rapidly. Across every subvertical within professional services, we're all experiencing change from every angle, in tech innovation and AI to greater macroeconomic trends and changing legislation. ProServe companies need to invest in cutting edge technology, robust data systems, and top tier talent to anticipate market shifts and adapt quickly. Number two, professional services companies need to embrace automation and AI to operate as one unified organization. This empowers firms to effectively execute against your goals and focus on what matters most, which is meeting clients' needs with the right people at the right time. And third, it's all about data. I think we can all agree that data is gold. If I had $1 for every time that I said that, I'd probably have a lot of gold bars. But regardless of what industry you're in, organizations must focus on solutions that unlock deeper insights and harness the power of AI. AI, a data-driven approach, shows clients your value and wins their business. And fourth and finally, despite or maybe because of technological advancements, people, yes, humans, not agents, are the heart of the professional services industry. I can't stress this enough. Attracting and retaining top talent, as well as making sure your highly valuable people are doing the jobs that you want them to do or that they enjoy, requires that continuous investment in upskilling to foster a dynamic and future-proof workforce. So this sounds great, right? We walked through the 4 pillars of the future of professional services. We see what's changing and what is needed to grow. Now, we all know while we welcome change, this does shed a sometimes shockingly bright light on challenges within professional services businesses that we must account for. So I'll walk you through 3 things again. First, the client expectations and needs are changing rapidly with this accelerated pace of tech innovation. Second, we have manual and disjointed processes. I hear it all the time. Again, if I had $1 for hearing manual and disjointed processes, I'd be even richer. For example, our blank team, our sales team uses 5 different tools to get this process done. More and more businesses are using point, Band-Aid solutions, or legacy tools, and it's creating silos. Third, we're all learning as we go through this AI journey, and it can be really hard to keep up. It's become a race to embed and use AI to push businesses forward. So all 3 of these challenges, when not handled properly, can lead to, just for example, an increase in client attrition, decreases in productivity, revenue leakage, and a diminished competitive edge. So daunting, I know, didn't mean to put a sour note on that, but you may guess where I am going next. Enter our bright young star, generative AI. So today, professional services companies feel this evolution, I'm sure you all are, and the pending or present challenges. Companies in this space are being challenged by your clients on the traditional consulting model, right? What worked before may not work as well now. And these clients and their demands, they have a lower tolerance for inefficiency. Leveraging the evolving capabilities of generative AI is becoming a prerequisite for clients of professional services firms. So enough of the past. Let's really focus on tomorrow, right? Generative AI is the key to helping ProServe companies get to that tomorrow, or as I like to call it, the ideal state, where you'll see operational excellence and accelerated growth, and better yet, where you have edge over your competitors. So far, I'll take a breath. We've covered the changing landscape, potential challenges, but let's really make this feel real and put some numbers to why it's time to more effectively leverage generative AI. The following that we'll walk through is from a March McKinsey study on the state of AI. So not to scare you once again, but as the title for this slide suggests, gone are the days of gaining an edge on your competition by simply turning on AI. Checking the box by saying, oh, well, some of our team uses ChatGPT on the side isn't going to cut it, and it's not going to get you to that ideal or tomorrow state. I hate to say it, but the truth, as blunt as it may be, is that if you are a professional services company or in any vertical, really, and you're not using some form of AI at scale within your business or in the workplace, you're in the minority. This is something we've never been able to say before. In fact, 78% of all surveyed organizations use AI in at least one business function, and 50% use it in at least two. These numbers are up 55 and 31% from last year, respectively. So this has moved really quickly. Now, there is good news. I feel like I've been teasing you a bit with the, impending changes and what may happen if you don't take action. But again, on the bright side, I work with customers and stellar partners like Plative on a daily basis to get to that ideal tomorrow state. And it's actually a lot easier than you think to leverage AI within your organization at scale, if you aren't already. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mitch to share more about how we can actually put this into action for you and make this a reality.
Thanks, Sammy. So as Sammy mentioned, there are a lot of organizations that we work with that are looking to leverage AI, that are curious about it. And oftentimes the first question we get asked as consultants is, where do I start? Right. And a lot of assumptions are made moving into this world that to unlock AI within your organization, it's some like monumental effort, right? And it's going to take a ton of work and your data has to be perfect and all those things. But we're here to say, and through examples of organizations that we worked with, is none of that's actually true. You can launch AI within your organization in as little as a month. And so I want to run through a couple use cases that we've actually partnered with on organizations to unlock just this. And so there's 3 examples that I want to run through for other professional services organizations. And it doesn't have to be just professional services organizations. As I work through the use cases, hopefully the gears start turning. And I'll go into a bit of detail on each of them. But the first here is the tier 1 support agent, right? This is one of the most popular sort of use cases for AI is how do we improve service? And what this agent what this agent in particular will do is it'll work with humans, work together to provide this seamless customer experience, this seamless service experience. We've got another one here that we've worked on where we set up an SDR agent, so sales development rep, which works to educate customers, qualify incoming leads, and then even auto book sales meetings with your team, your sales team, or your account executives or client partners or whatever you have there. The last here is the one that we're going to demo, and our team, I can say, uses it on a daily basis for sure, multiple times a day, but it's the notion of this call prep agent. And the idea there is to supercharge your own prep for meetings. And this one I kind of think of as like my little handy assistant. And again, we'll run through the actual demo to help you understand it. To dig into each one of these, so the first, like I mentioned, is kind of the most popular use case that we're seeing, which is geared towards like how do we provide a better service experience to our customers. And so this agent will plug directly into your knowledge base, wherever that knowledge sits, and it'll parse through historical case information. And as a result, now it has the capability to handle those tier 1 cases or those more complex cases. When it comes to the agentic functionality, I'm sure we can maybe all relate to this story, right? Where you're in this scenario with the traditional bot type of service and you've fallen into this death loop, right? Where you just, as a customer, really want to not talk to a bot anymore and actually want to talk to a real life human, where you just are begging basically to get transferred to a real human. And what you can see here in the screenshots on the screen is that what this use case provides is that when notified that there's a service issue or a service issue hasn't been resolved, or if the agent detects an inability to resolve the questions that it's getting, it will automatically hand over that chat to a live agent. And so in this sense, it's actually proactive, right? And that's one of the key differences between like an agent, a service agent versus kind of the traditional bot. So again, you can imagine from a customer service experience standpoint, much better experience, right? In the bot world, when that does happen, you have to go ahead, if you're transferred to an actual person or an agent, you then have to go again as the customer to re-explain everything you already did to the bot. It's a super frustrating experience. I think we can all kind of empathize with that. And so what this does in this case is it transfers your entire conversation to the service rep, right? And so that person has all that in front of them. It's summarized for a speedy pickup, right? And all the context is there. So The result is that the customer then doesn't have to repeat themselves again and again. So overall, a much better customer experience. And again, just one example, something that can be stood up pretty quickly. The second one I talked about is that SDR agent. And that's really meant to serve as the frontline sales rep. So working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this person's not getting tired or taking breaks. And this agent can be trained to know not only your product offerings, but details and nuances of each of them. And that can result in answering questions posed by prospects or customers. And then when the time comes, what's really cool about it is that it then can actually book meetings. So speed to lead is obviously a very important thing. We're talking about sales and converting customers. And how it does this is it leverages real-time calendar availability of your selling team. So it takes that and can actually plop in invites and calendar meetings, right? It's pretty amazing. All the context, the questions, whatever was spoken about to that actual agent is brought into Salesforce. It's attached to that record. And then so when the account executive or the seller or whoever the meeting is booked for is actually booked, they have all that context there and at their fingertips. So again, this one's pretty neat because, in a few weeks, we could stand up something like this, which effectively gives you a seller that's working around the clock, takes perfect notes and can actually fill up your team's calendars with these high intent meetings, ideally. The third one I alluded to is the one our team uses on a daily basis, multiple times a day. And it's a pretty exciting use case, again, but pretty simple, right? And not this monumental effort to actually stand up. And so we call this the call prep agent. And Eli, before I hand it over to you, I'll just kind of set the stage with how this came to be. And so hopefully we can all empathize with this, but how many times have you just been flooded with calendar invites? Your calendars are just full, right? And there's not enough time in the day to actually prep between each one of these meetings and to have all the context. Even simple things, right? Like who am I meeting? What's their background? What do they care about? Answers to questions that would quickly give the ability to you as someone else on the call to build rapport, build trust, know who you're going to speak to. And so I think we've all had days like this where we're trying to get more time back in our day so we don't show up flat-footed, especially in front of our customers. And it's not the best experience when that's the case, right? And so the whole idea here is to give you that time back in your day so that you show up as best you can to these meetings and they're as productive as they possibly can be. And so with that set of the stage, I will pass it to you, Eli, and we'll run through the demo.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mitch. All right, so to set a little bit of background, so I am currently working in the sales app. I'm going to be looking at a meeting that I have tomorrow, actually with CMR and with Brian, our special guest today. So we're going to be trying to prep for that meeting and understand what we need to know and kind of what we can do to kind of get ready in my back-to-back schedule for today. So I'll go ahead and ask it to help me prep for my call, and then I put in the title of it, and then tomorrow. And then it's going to run through a couple different pieces to be able to get, it's connected into my Google Calendar right now. And so it's going to get all the information. It's going to go pull back some information on the people that I'm going to be meeting with and give me a high-level summary here. All right. Awesome. So we have Art. We have information about him. We have information about Brian. Nice little images next to each individual. And we also have information. And there I am as a member of that meeting. So I can read through and kind of get a general overview. I can understand, some high level details about who these people are. But let's just say this isn't quite enough for me. And I wanted to be able to get some more information. There are a few recommendations that it makes automatically. So you might be able to use one of these out of the box, or you can kind of type your own. This one is actually exactly what I wanted. So we're going to ask it to get some more LinkedIn profile details for the attendees. So that way we can get some more information, maybe know where they went to school, be able to, have a little bit of small talk at the beginning, make sure that we have a connection point where we may have not had one before. So this is using behind the scenes a few different APIs. We're also tapping in. So specifically, we're tapping into Apollo and Perplexity. So you can ask it to Google search different pieces. You can ask it to search like LinkedIn specifically, or we can have that calendar connection on the background. So it pulled back 3 different sections for all the different folks. So we have art, education, skills, work experience, understanding how long he's been at CMR. We can see the same about Brian. So we can see, where kind of background and, that they've been working at CMR together for about the same time or in their current role. We can see anything recent, like if they were very active on LinkedIn, we could obviously see that. And then it pulled back my information as well. So this is great. We're starting to get a good idea of what we need for tomorrow. But I want a little bit more about, CMR specifically, and I kind of want to know, like, how can I do a little bit more better count research? So I'm going to actually ask it to search the web for the latest new headlines on CMR and see kind of like what's something that I can talk to them about. Has there been any recent developments? Have there been any news pieces, or what else can I glean from this account and kind of learning from AI? All right. So it pulled back a few different pieces. It pulled back a summary of like what Convention Management Resource or CMR is. It has a couple different other pieces for me. And then the great thing about this is it does pull in citations. So that way you could go look and kind of do your own research if you wanted to dig in and understand more about, oh, here's their website. Okay, it looks like they were found on a couple other places. So it might be an interesting way to kind of, if you have a little bit more time, to be able to dig in and understand. But so far, I've got a pretty good understanding of like who I'm meeting with, what their company does, and how I might be able to help them from that perspective. And then the last prompt that we're going to run through today is save this meeting to a briefing doc. But we could also like look at my other meetings. You could keep going and kind of understand your meetings today. I won't pull in all of that information right now, but there's a lot of power to be able to, one, summarize your day, be able to understand, the very next thing that's coming up, like quickly I need to know where I'm jumping to, or you can be a little bit more prescriptive of like, hey, I have this big meeting tomorrow. I really want to dig in and find out more like we're doing now. And really kind of zone in on a specific meeting. So we're going to go ahead and create a briefing doc for this. So this will generate some of the notes that we pulled in this session and basically throw it into a Google document that is formatted very nicely. All right, so if I open this up, then you can see kind of the beginnings of like what we were pulling in about the different people, and it kind of goes through the different pieces. It pulled in all the latest news, so that way I would be able to take this with me, have this wherever I needed to be able to showcase that. It looks like since we do have a little bit of time, I do want to show you one other piece that is pretty cool. So if I had my contact here and I had several either calls or emails or anything with that had history, I can also query that to be able to say, okay, This isn't actually a new person that I've been meeting with, but I want to summarize and I want to understand, what all have we talked about? What's been the history? Let's see if I can kind of dig in just a little bit more so I can refamiliarize myself with things, because I might be running in a few different directions and kind of forget where we last left off. So if I use the contact interaction logs, it'll actually pull through the activity section in Salesforce, and it will look at what we've talked about and kind of and summarize for me, so that way I can go into this meeting remembering exactly where we left off. And it'll actually loop through all the different people. And then we can see, there wasn't anything for art, but we did have this previous call on May 1st. We had an introductory call. We discussed potential opportunities with Agentforce work along with the needs of CMR. And then we had, looks like a follow-up is scheduled in 2 weeks, which is going to be our, touch point tomorrow. So then I remember, okay, yep, I kind of remember where we were, and I can kind of understand and look into more of, and have a little bit better of an update of what this meeting might be if it's not a net new person and we've had a history together. All right, and that concludes the demo portion of this today. I will go ahead and pass back to Mitch.
Sweet. Thanks, Eli. So hopefully the gears are turning. Basically what you saw there is the beauty of Agentforce to allow you, I guess, working within an organization to basically just like supercharge your time, right? Give you more time back in your day and actually show up stronger when you are meeting with customers or prospects or what have you. So with that, hopefully y'all enjoy this next segment. This is typically the juiciest part of these webinars, so no pressure, Brian. But we've got Brian here to chat with us. Convention Management Resources is an amazing organization we've had the opportunity to partner with for a little bit of time now. And so with that, Brian, maybe I'll let you just introduce yourself and then give some background on your business.
Sure. My name is Brian Roy. I'm the CEO of Convention Management Resources. We are a technology service company in the convention and trade show industry. We've been around for 30 some odd years. Our primary lines of business and the primary products that we offer are convention registration and convention housing. So we generally work on events that are 5,000 to 50,000 meeting participants, generally 10 to 40 hotels. So that's really the area where we focus on. We have some other ancillary products, but those are our two main business lines. So we develop our own proprietary applications because when we started the company, there was none. And so we have continued to develop those. As a result of our engagement with Plative and Salesforce, I have become the biggest evangelist for AI. I have the biggest list of projects that I want to jump into, and it's really been eye-opening for us, and it's really going to open a lot of doors for us. And really, everybody says, oh my God, are we going to lose our jobs? No, we're not going to lose our jobs. We're going to be able to work in a much more efficient way so that we can impact the bottom line and we can take on new clients without upsetting our day-to-day operations. So I'm really excited about this, to be perfectly honest.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate the kind words also. I'll send you a Starbucks gift card after this. But what was, I'm just curious, like you're extremely forward thinking, right? As an organization, as a CEO, what was like that aha moment for y'all where you
yeah,
were like,
so there was no aha moment. And just to give you perspective on this, back in late 2019, 2020, I started the initiative of adding chat to our customer support center. We have about 15 to 20 individuals. We take on average 200 to 500 calls a day plus cases. So we use RingCentral as our call center application, and then we use Salesforce Service Cloud for our case management. So those were the two logical paths to follow. Unfortunately, early 2020, our friend COVID arrived and we essentially shut down for almost 2 years. We have, since re-engaged and business is back pretty much to pre-pandemic levels. So I wanted to get started again on chat. We also brought on a new piece of business, a new client. Most of our clients are professional or trade associations. This is a corporate account. It's a technology company. It's a large enterprise platform. So we had to up our game a little bit. So I reached out to Ring Central. We talked about their AI bot. Then we started talking with our Salesforce rep. It became clear very quickly that Salesforce was the direction we wanted to go. We integrate Ring Central with Salesforce already, so that's where the bulk of our data is residing. So it made much more sense to move in that direction. So we are starting off with some fairly limited use cases. We support about 55 events a year. We're rolling it out just for 2 events right now. And then our intention is to start to roll out more and more complex use cases. My goal is to take care of, to use AI for the simpler things that we don't have to have somebody wait on a call and use our human resources for easy things. So that's kind of how we're starting. We'll roll it out beyond that. But like I said, I have a wish list of about 20 things I want to start looking at AI for. So.
Yeah, I know you rattled a couple off to me the other day. I think what's kind of neat about what you said is it goes back to what Samantha was talking about earlier. Was like, it wasn't that aha moment. It was actually just like the world calling on this as
absolutely. Right? Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore AI today. And so you have to find the right way to get it to fit into your organization, your business processes, and your people. So, I mean, it's important. It's very important that they engage in it as well.
And you mentioned the right way, and you also mentioned like AI is not here to steal our jobs and that sort of thing. So I'm curious for your take on this, right? Because as a professional services organization, like oftentimes you're kind of selling people, right? You're selling the service, and that's touted as like obviously so critical or so important. And there's that question that comes to people's mind when we interject AI or a non-human into that motion. You talked a little bit about like simpler use cases and that sort of thing. So I was just curious if I could pull that string a bit. Like, how do you think about that in regards to unlocking AI in your business? Like, what are some of those simpler use cases that you're tackling first?
Yeah, so for the call center, we really decided on 4 use cases. So one use case is I need some information about this particular convention. And so within the Salesforce Service Cloud environment, we build a bunch of articles that are more, how do I do this? How do I do that? I need to do this. I need to do that. So that's one piece of it. The next piece of it is within our proprietary applications and our hotel booking application, we have an enormous amount of information on all the hotels that we support. We also have a lot of other information for our call center agents to answer stuff that has nothing to do with what we do, but we're the call center that everybody calls for whatever. So we're keeping it fairly simple in the first iteration, but our goal is to take all of this information that is siloed, unfortunately, and I'm sure every one of you have silos in your organization. When you start doing this, you really become aware of how siloed you are. So we're going to start to take all this siloed information, probably put it we're in an Amazon AWS environment, so put it in an S3 bucket, and then the AI bot will learn from that content, and we'll start to be able to answer. So I'd rather use our agents who are really, really super customer service focused on the more complicated things and use AI for the things that we don't really need a live person to do. So information, I need my confirmation. I can't find it anywhere. I don't know where I'm staying. Very simple. So we can confirm back to the person where they're staying with all their information. Oh, can you email it to me? Sure. And then the more complex case we decided on is, I want to add one night, I want to come in early, or I want to stay one night extra, or I want to stay one day less. And so we have APIs that are connecting into our proprietary application, and we start our UAT testing on Thursday. So we'll see how it goes. But the first demo we saw last week, we could see the changes being made in the database. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty ready to roll this out.
There we go. And the theme there is kind of like start small, right?
Start small, exactly. Yeah.
The lower risk scenarios, like you're
absolutely.
And then obviously kind of eager to iterate and build as we kind of keep going.
Indeed.
One of the things that we hear constantly when we're talking with customers is like, I'm not ready. You alluded to it there. Like my data is all over the place. It's in silos. What preparations did you have to make from a business to get ready for this? And I kind of want to point this in two directions. So both from a technical standpoint, if you can speak to that.
Sure.
Also from like a change management and people perspective, I'm curious if you could.
Yeah, so that's also really interesting. So not only are we launching Agentforce, this AI product, but we're also introducing chat for the first time. So for us, it's going to be kind of a two-headed project. But everybody on our team realizes that we have to do this. And so it was not difficult for us to get buy-in, I'll be honest. And even the two clients whom we're launching this on, they were both very excited about it. I was a little surprised because one of them is this tech company, but another one is an association, a medical association, who tend to be a little bit more conservative. This is a very forward-thinking organization, so they immediately embraced it and are actually really interested in learning how it goes, because they want to start looking at some AI projects within their organization as well.
Very cool. And then from like a technical perspective, from the business standpoint, was there?
Yeah, from technical, it really wasn't that difficult. We worked with our dev teams to get APIs. So we gave, there are basically 3 APIs. We gave them to Mitch's team. I mean, working with the team has been very efficient and very, not a lot of back and forth. We gave the APIs, they were able to validate they're seeing the data. So it was not a huge lift for us from a technical standpoint so far. As the use cases become more complex, I expect it will become more complex for us as well.
Right. You talked a little bit about that there, or about this next piece here that I want to go towards, but how I guess you're unique in a sense, Brian, from other organizations that I talked to, because when we talked, you very often immediately go to like kind of the bottom line or the customer experience, right? Like, what's this going to do from a productivity standpoint for my organization? And so I know you said starting with the simpler use cases, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking operations as well, right? So how do you prioritize like which AI use cases to invest in first?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I'm looking at, as a CEO, I'm always looking at efficiency, but efficiency that allows empowerment in other areas. So I'm looking at the organization and where do we have to dedicate a lot of human resources for something that's important, but maybe is not the most critical thing. And so we're looking at a lot of things that are, for example, comparing lists from a hotel compared to us. It's a time-consuming project, and the information is not always consistent, because you may register, the hotel may have you as Mitchell, but you're Mitch. So usually we can figure that out, but if we teach AI how to do that, we think we can turn it around pretty quickly. The other area where we've just launched is on the registration side. Every association is super different in terms of how they're structured, how their membership is structured, what platforms they use, what reports they use. So when we provide registration services, we're processing an enormous amount of funds on their behalf. And it's funds that really fund the organization for the most part. Usually these large annual meetings are the biggest sources of income.
Mm-hmm.
We have built some really, really complex what we think are user-friendly reporting dashboards for our clients where they can go and build their own reports. But it takes a certain person to understand how to structure a report, what fields you want, how do you want to display them. We just saw a demo this week where using English words, you can type in, I would like a report of everybody who's registered between this date and this date who come from one of the 7 New England states or 8 New England states, whatever it is. And so that's a direction we're going to go so that the clients can do it themselves. They don't have to call our teams to do it. They don't have to use this maybe daunting report writer application that they just don't feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
What we're learning is we have to teach it our lingo, how we refer to, how our clients will refer to things and what that equals in our database and, in the technical language. So it's been really interesting. We literally had just a 30-minute demo, but it was, I had my own, I almost fell out of my chair when I saw it, because for us, it's really a game changer.
Very cool.
The other thing that I'm really focused on now is writing proposals. So the sales process in our industry is very long, very slow. We get a request for proposal. It's never in the same format.
Yeah.
It's never, but it's the same services. So what I've started doing is teaching an AI bot, feeding it all the different RFPs and proposals that we've got to see if I can feed, when I get a new one, can I feed it to them and have it turn our proposal back? I haven't gotten there yet, but it's a big project because they are incredibly time consuming. And it's really only a small part of the whole sales process, but it's the first part. And you've got to submit a proposal to get to the next phase of the sales process.
That one resonates with me a lot. Yeah, I'm home with that one, especially a lot of I oversee nonprofit too, and that's typically how nonprofits will purchase. And so
completely, yes.
Yeah. I will say I'm guilty of leveraging ChatGPT or something like that at the time. But it's really illuminating how you think about it, Brian. As you were speaking, Samantha hit me on Slack and she said she's got a burning question for you. So this isn't a rehearsed one. Hopefully it's not too hard, but over to you, Sammy.
Go for it.
Thanks. Yeah. And Brian, you hit on some of this already. And earlier I mentioned, right, I think, and Mitch just shared this, we all go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or our own respective favored ad hoc tool here and there. But I'm really curious, as you were going through the Salesforce evaluation and working with Plative, what drew you to our solutions and how you could maybe better govern or move away from, right, people dropping in proposal data to a ChatGPT, for example? And how do you see that having an impact going forward?
Yeah, AI is so new and this is virgin territory in many ways, but it's moving at a pace that is beyond what I think we as humans can keep up with. And so there was no way I was really going to delve into this on my own. And we've been very happy with the Salesforce product that we've been using. We haven't been so thrilled with some of the companies like Plative that we've worked with in the past, but immediately as we started working together, I knew this was going to be a good fit because they're very, very on top of things. They're on top of us too. And so it's been a really easy working environment. Again, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see as we start to roll this out. But and for us, it made sense to go with the Salesforce product because we're already deeply ingrained from a customer service perspective in that product. So it just made sense.
Totally get it. And I'm a little biased, but I worked with a lot of Salesforce implementation partners, and Plative, I'm just sitting here for a reason. So I agree. And they've turned a lot of this really cool product into action for a lot of customers. So love to hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
Brian, another one for you. And this might be too early in our journey to ask this, but we have user acceptance testing around the corner, right? But what challenges, whether people or technology related, have come up for you? Like what learnings, I guess, like if you were to go back to Brian 60 days ago and say, hey, do this, that, or the other, what advice would you have for someone that's evaluating an Agentforce or AI solution?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I would say is before you decide whether or not it's a good direction, take a look at, and if we're talking about a customer service center, take a look at what's coming into your customer service center and understand what's low-hanging fruit and what's complex. And if you can start to identify a good suite of low-hanging fruit, that's the best place to start. And that's the way we did it. So I think we did it the right way. My only advice is don't be too hesitant. I feel like maybe we were a little conservative. In retrospect, I would like to have rolled out a couple more use cases, to be honest.
And why? Just to pull that.
Really, just to push the envelope a little bit. But I also have, we all have had experience with AI bots in customer service, and I've had some that have been very, very frustrating. So as I've been working with your team, been very clear that if that customer wants to exit the bot, that they have an easy way out, and that and you've architected so that it can either result in a phone call to an agent, or it can result in a case. So we're always giving our end users multiple ways to communicate with us. Right. That's important to us.
Yeah, so that bot death spiral doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a recent experience on hotels.com because I use that for personal travel often. And I thought I had canceled a reservation, but then I got a reminder from the hotel that I had a reservation, and I was like, what? And so I went on hotels.com. I hope no one's working for hotels.com in the audience. I like the app, but it was incredibly confused and could not help me. And what I finally realized on my own is I had two different accounts, one under my personal email address. So I think if you're going to start moving into those more complex, like to me, that would be something that's probably too complex for a bot at the beginning until it's learned a lot about your organization and your industry.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice.
That's good advice. Words of wisdom. And so I think with that, that's all the questions I have for you, Brian. But thank you so much for the time. Appreciate the partnership. If there's any organizations out there that are looking for an amazing event resource, definitely hit up Brian's organization. And yeah, thanks so much, Brian. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. I think with that, Deb, I will invite you to the stage to talk about what we have going on next for folks.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you for this. This was all really insightful, and I enjoyed the conversation. But on a lighter note, we are super excited to share that Plative is hosting a networking happy hour / lunch during World Tour next week on May 21st. It is CBS specific, so everyone here is invited. It's going to be at Milos Wine Bar right in Hudson Yards, super close to the Javits Center. So if you are attending World Tour, please register. I will send the link right here in the chat. So please register, continue the conversation with us. We'll all be there in person. And thanks again for having us today. And by the way, I'm the Alliances Manager from the Plative side. So for those of you that don't know me, but yeah, thanks again.
Perfect. Thanks, Deb. I think with that, we'll pause for a few minutes, hang around if there's any questions or anything else that pop into the chat, we can tackle those. And then if not, we can give you a couple minutes back in your day, y'all. So we'll hang for another minute or two.
And just to double down on what Deb shared, if you're unfamiliar with Salesforce's World Tour, this one's in New York. You can easily just Google it. Totally free event. So a lot happening around there, all free things. And if you yourself aren't local or can't make it, feel free to let somebody else on your team know too. And yeah, like Mitch said, any questions, we'll take any more questions. Thanks to Katie for posting a question so far. And actually, Mitch, if it's okay with you, I'll review one of the questions that was posted in the chat. Katie had asked if Agentforce can update Salesforce records like opportunity records, contact records, and would it link to any functionality that could record and transcribe meeting notes? So I'll take the first part of that first. Agentforce can definitely update Salesforce records. It can be those standard objects like opportunities or contacts or accounts, but it can also be on custom objects as well. So similar to what Eli showed on the call, maybe you hop off a call or preparing for a call, it can actually go and update that field for you. You can easily set that into motion. And then in terms of functionality around call recordings and transcriptions, we do allow you, of course, Salesforce allows you to plug in Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Zoom, and tie that to Salesforce through Einstein Conversation Insights. So as long as if you're using that, you can easily grab those transcriptions and use Agentforce alongside with that. Or if you're using another third-party tool, there's ways that we can work around that as well. I would just highly recommend working with a partner like Plative to make sure that the right information is pulled at the right time.
Perfect. All right. I think with that, we will end the webinar here. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Eli. Appreciate it, y'all. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.